The Pittsburgh Penguins just had their 5-game winning streak snap, but this team seems to be putting things back together after a disappointing start. Hunter Hodies of Locked On Penguins is here to talk about all things Penguins coming up on the Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast. Gil Martin, so glad you could join us today. Thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Penguins, Hunter Hodies. And Hunter, 5 straight wins, sandwiched in between 2 losses to Toronto. I don't think you have to play them more than once more this season. But let's start with this. What were the Penguins doing better during that 5-game win streak that allowed them to get back into the playoff hunt here in the Metropolitan Division?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of things. They during their losing streak, they were still playing good at 5v5. It was just that their goaltending and their special teams were killing them. And one step, the penalty kill really turned it around. They've gone back up to about league average at this point. They've killed off, I think just a couple of games ago, it was about 24 of 26 power plays. You couple that with better goaltending and the finishing is continuing to be fine. You know, you can rattle off some wins, and that's what the Penguins have been doing, honestly, over the last 10 games. They've won. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. They were 7-1-1 in their last 9 before losing to Toronto on Saturday night. And yes, playing Toronto 3 times in basically the span of 2-3 weeks. I'm tired of it. They don't have to play them for the rest of the season unless they meet in the playoffs. So they got those games out of the way at the start. But yeah, I mean, it's the fourth line has, I think, also been a lot better compared to how it used to be at the start of the season. The top 6 is continuing to produce. Sidney Crosby is doing Sidney Crosby things, as everyone could expect him to. Tristan Jarry is starting to turn his game around a little bit. And you couple all that with the penalty kill being good, you know, they're starting to get some results that they should have probably gotten during the 7-game losing streak. If they can just turn the power play around, I think it'll be that much, tougher to beat. But, you can never win when both of your special teams units are bad. You can get by with kind of a meh power play, but if your penalty kill is also bleeding a goal or 2 against every game, you're going to look bad. And, so far these last 7 to 10 games, the PK has been a lot better, which is really, I think, righted the ship for the Penguins as well as them playing better at 5v5.
Well, you certainly anticipated one of my next questions, which was what's wrong with the power play. And you look at the talent out there, Crosby, Malkin, Letang, a lot of very familiar names. And yet right now, 27th in the league with the extra attacker. What is going wrong with this Penguins power play?
How long do you have? It's I could write a novel about it. It's garbage. That's probably my best way to describe it. It's a garbage unit right now. Dumpster fire, whatever you want to say. The zone entries are putrid. They have to go backwards to go forward way too many times. Once they get in the zone, they're overpassing like crazy. Kris Letang hasn't had the start to the season that I think a lot of us anticipated him having. That could be a big part of it, but they're still trying to Harlem Globetrotter it into the net, the top unit that is, and they're getting a shot on net, pucks being clear right after that. There's just no sustained zone time for this unit. For those who don't know, I am moving to Pittsburgh in 4 days on Thursday. I would love to be able to get passes to go to these practices to see if they're even practicing the power play at this point. Because it looks like the same old unit that we've seen for the past 3 to 4 weeks now. It is pure garbage. And it's bad when the second unit is getting more chances than the first unit, which has at least three Hall of Famers on it. Gensel and Russ, they're probably not going to get to Hall of Fame. Very good players, but you have 3 surefire Hall of Fame players on it, and it's looking like just utter awful. So it's bad when the second unit is getting better chances. And it's bad when late in the game against Philadelphia, Mike Sullivan, they get a power play. He's like, I'm not going to put my first unit out there. I'm going to go put the fourth line out there who's had a pretty good game, and they're going to take up the minutes on the power play. So he's definitely a bit fed up. They've been trying different combinations, putting Jeff Petrie at the point alongside Letang. What I think they should do is put Rickard Rakell up there. He's been one of the best forwards this season. You can go, him with, obviously Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and then Jake Gensel. I think that could maybe get it going, like how Rakell has gotten the top line going with Crosby and Gensel. But it's just, it's very bad right now, and it's something that needs to change, because Todd Reirden has been known to be a very good power play coach. He's been great with the defenseman, but for the power play, this is unacceptable, to say the least. This unit can't be this bad throughout the season, because if it was even league average, they probably would have a few more wins right now.
No question. No question. You mentioned Letang. What's missing from his game so far this year? He's not put up very Letang-like numbers, and his plus minus is way off as well.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I don't know if he's hurt, but he doesn't look like he has his confidence right now. A lot of us thought that it was him due to playing with Brian Dumoulin, who had looked pretty washed up on the top pairing for a lot of the season. He was removed, so then everyone was like, okay, Marcus Pettersson goes up. He's been one of their most steady defensemen. Let's see how it goes. Hasn't really changed. Pettersson's played well. Letang hasn't. And I just think the game is too fast for him right now, which I don't think I've ever said, just considering how great he's been throughout his career. I don't know if it's his sign of old age that he's showing, but he just seems to be second guessing himself in the defensive zone, not making the right reads. Hasn't been shooting the puck as much, though. That has changed over the last week or two. He's actually been starting to rip a few more from the point, quarterback in the power play a little bit better. He just needs to really find his confidence. And, Josh Yohe of The Athletic, he always has a great saying, the Penguins go as Kris Letang goes, and I totally agree with that. He needs to find his game in short order, because if he doesn't find it at any point this season, I don't think this team has any shot of making any noise in the playoffs, let alone potentially getting there. They're in a spot right now because this 10-game stretch has really saved the season after that 7-game losing streak, but he just needs to do everything better at this point, whether that's defending in his own zone, carrying the puck up the ice, getting chances in the offensive zone, making good passes with the puck and good decisions with the puck. Just none of that is there right now, and that's not good for someone who just obviously signed an extension. It was the right move because there was no one that's going to replace him. But I try to be as objective as I can. He's been bad for most of the season, and it needs to change.
Give me the names of some players who have been a pleasant surprise and have contributed to the last 10 games of success that this team has had.
Yeah, I mean, Brock McGinn was terrible to start this season, was really bad in the second half of last season. Had a stretch where he scored 5 goals in 7 games during this 10-game stretch here for the Penguins. He's in one of their best fourth liners this year. He's gone cold for the last few games, but, it's a bottom 6 player. You're going to have hot and cold stretches. He's played pretty well. Ryan Poehling, I think, has also been playing his best hockey of the season as a Penguin. Josh Archibald, I think, is really starting to find his game a little bit. He already has 4 goals. And then Teddy Bluger, he is the glue that makes that fourth line go. You could really see how much they missed him over those first handful of games to start the season. And also, doesn't take a genius to see that the PK has also been even better. It was turning around before he came back, but when he did come back, it got that much better because he is one of their best penalty killers. So he's been really good since coming back. Those are like the main depth players who I think have really been stepping up. I think Jeff Petrie's starting. He's getting close to really turning it on. I think, at the beginning of the season, he was taking too many stupid penalties and not looking good in the offensive zone. But, he's been creative with the puck, with moving it defensively. He hasn't really been caught out of position. He's played consistent where I'm waiting for that game where he really takes it over like he did in Montreal. Crosby is Crosby. He had a few games, I should say, where he wasn't looking right, but 27 points in 20-something games at this point. He's on pace to have close to his 20. I think it would be his 18th or I think his 19th straight season of a point per game pace. That's said. And then Gino's been awesome as well. Finally fully healthy, just had his 1,000th game celebration, which was awesome. So, yeah, most of the top 6 guys, Jason Zucker, I should shout out as well. He's at a point per game pace this season. He has been outstanding. I think he's their best forechecker. Defensively, he's been making some great plays. Finishing-wise, he's been awesome. He's finally looking like the player that the Penguins thought they were getting just a few years ago. So, I really like the play of some of those players. The fourth line has been good the last several games. It's really just that third line with figuring out who is going to play on that line and just seeing if anyone can be consistent. Because right now you have 3 players on that line who really aren't doing anything. And you also have someone who should be on the third line, but is making $3.2 million and he's a healthy scratch. And I think they're trying to find someone to take him. So again, a lot of the good depth players are playing well, or a decent amount of them. And the top 6, I should say, is also playing really well as well.
All right, Hunter, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodies. The show's Twitter is at LO_Penguins. You can find the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and all that. I'm hoping I can reach 1K subs by the end of the season. I think that was my goal. We're about 250 away at this point. So really excited about that. And hopefully the show hopefully I can go to a lot more games since I'm moving to the 412 in about a few days.
All right. Well, good luck with the move. And Hunter, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
If you've thought about securing your home with home security, but you've been putting it off, you'll want to listen up. Right now, Locked On NHL listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system for 50% off. This is their biggest offer of the year, and you don't want to miss it. Here's why I love it. In an emergency, you get 24/7 professional monitoring agents using Fast Protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe, and it captures critical evidence and verifies that a threat is real so you can get priority police response. SimpliSafe is whole home security with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and out, and smarter ways to detect motion that alert you only when a threat is real. They even have hazard sensors that detect things like fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.